All right, now we're recording. So in the intro part, in the preface, late assignments. How many points do you lose if it's 1 day late? 3. So it starts at what percent?
97.
So what does that mean about extra credit? It means you can't get it, right? He's fine as long as he's not bothering anybody. All right. What if it's a week late?
It's 5 points.
It's 5 points. 95. That means no extra credit, right? Okay, so this is something you have to consider. If you have life going on and you're like, oh, I'm late, you know, and it's not life like emergency life, okay? Emergency life is different. That's call me, we'll work it out. You tell me a date, we'll stick to the date. We're talking about like, oh, I just, you know, I was out last night. I was partying hard and I didn't get my work done, right?
Got turned.
Yeah, there you go. So here's what you have to consider. Is it worth scrambling during your week of life to go from 3 points off to 5 points off? If it is, scramble. If it's not, don't scramble. Bring it next week. You have to think about that. These are real life decisions. Yes, Henry.
Do not give food to the dog. Okay.
That's not a rule, but it should be. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Henry.
Do not give food to the dog. Second week, you lose 10 points. So if it comes in the day of class, we're still at 5 points. But if it comes in the following week, anytime between 5 points and the following week is 10 points, okay? And if it's more than 3 weeks, it's zip. It's done. 0, right? And that's no judgment. That's not like, I don't like you. That's just, it is, right? No judgment. Okay, extra credit's different this year too. Because, no. All of our tests are online this year. And because of that, the extra credit is different. If you want to do extra credit, you can go to the assessment. There's an assessment at the end of every chapter, okay? You can go to that assessment and you can pick any 3 that you want to do, put them down on a separate sheet of paper, put your name on it, hand it in along with all the homework, write extra credit on top. Be sure you tell me what numbers you're doing, like number 21, number 17, and number 33. So I know what they are.
What if I don't tell you?
Well, then you aren't going to get any credit because I want to know what they are. Yeah.
You're allowed to do more than 3.
You can do 3 only. If you can only get 1 bonus level over 100. So if you have 100 already on your test and you do extra credit, it's probably going to be around 105. That percentage is different based on how many questions were on the original test.
Oh.
Right? If there are 20 questions, it's 5 points. If there were 10 questions, they're 10 points each. Yes. Come back to you.
Nope. You do like 1 or 2 extra credit questions instead of 3.
Yeah, just the limit's 3.
The limit's 3.
Stupid question.
Never.
So if you get like an 85 on a test, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you get a 97 on a test that you did extra credit. Can you take the extra credit and put it to the 85 test?
It doesn't really change your average, so it doesn't matter really.
Okay.
It shouldn't matter. The only way it would matter is if you had like one test that was a 50 and then another test that was all the others were like 95 or whatever, and you kept getting like 105, 105, 105, and you could have gotten 15 extra points, but you can't. Yeah. It all balance out because remember, also under a grading scale, I think it says it there or somewhere. No, it says it on Teacheries for sure, but your lowest in every category is dropped. Okay. So your lowest test is dropped, your lowest homework is dropped, your lowest lab is dropped. You know,
all free
for everything.
Free lowest for lowest test there.
I think it was 1 or 2. I'd have to double check and look.
I think it was 3 lowest last time.
I don't think it was 3 lowest. It may have been 3 lowest for something, but was it? What, for tests? I was really generous. Wow. I don't know why I'm ever that generous with people.
2 of the ones you got rid of.
Because it was us.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, go on, Michael.
Got rid of a 0 for me once. That was good.
Oh, good.
Oh, 0. Wow.
So that happens. You know, it happens. So that's the thing. All right, and then
Live.
no, we're not on Facebook Live anymore. What we do is we're recording every single lesson. This is recording what's on my screen. And what it's going to do is it's going to get sent to your file for this class, and it's also going to the Dropbox file that says, you know, lesson 1, and inside of it are all the things. It'll be in there, and it'll also be on our YouTube channel. and it'll be labeled as such.
Recording our voices right now.
It's recording everything you hear and my screen. Yep.
Oh.
So it'll hear everything. Yep. All right. So let me see. See, yeah, it says drop lowest 3 labs, drop lowest 1 test, drop lowest 3 homework. That's what you're getting. It's on here. I thought it was on here. All right. And then final project is going to be that Rube Goldberg machine that is going to be amazing. It's going to be hot. There will be bugs, but we're going to just deal because we're going to be outside for like the last 3 weeks to get that
We're gonna
done.
have to clear out the yard first.
Yep. Okay, for those of you who are new, this is the syllabus. It looks a little different this year for those of you who are not new. And it's because I wanted to show how the 2 classes are aligning and the lab is listed at the top, right? So your information's over here on this side, and this tells you everything you have to do before, during, and after class, right?
Yeah.
The same stuff is going to be in the weekly email that you're going to get as a follow-up for class. It usually comes the day of class. Sometimes it comes the day after. I have a life too.
Wait, you do?
I do.
Yes.
I do not hang by my toenails at night like a bat and just sleep. I
do.
Oh, okay.
actually do things. Isn't this crazy?
Jesus.
But it's all here, right? And I'm giving this to you instead of a whole year like I did last year because I have 2 classes to plan for now. It's 9 weeks at a time, so a quarter at a time.
Okay. I was so confused. I was like, this is way less homework than usual.
Yeah. So it's 9 weeks at a time, and probably around lesson 7, you'll get the next 9 weeks from me because I don't want you to wait till the last minute to get them. The next 9 weeks is gonna start. On your table of contents, it even shows you, but it's going to be really kind of convenient. It falls perfectly. The second quarter is going to start with lesson 10 and lesson 11, and those are the 2 online classes when you're not here because we're out of the country. So those first 2 lessons, we're not even in class for, right?
You going back to Russia, Cole?
No.
Back to Russia. I love it.
Ireland. Stop.
No. Oh,
And UK.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so
right?
Very super excited.
Famine.
Okay, one more thing about your work. Cool. All right, so what you're going to do each week for me is you're going to do the slot notes, the fill in the blank ones, the slot notes, okay? And that's what we're going to do as like a study guide in place of the study guide. And then the homework are the little questions at the end where it says, you know, yeah, where I don't know where I put them, but you might
But
have
homework, you mean like the last assessment from last year, or?
last year you had the study guide pages, remember?
Yeah.
We're not doing those, we're doing the fill in the blank notes, right? And then you get your, oh, where's that there like that? And then you get the, my brain just died. It does that sometimes. Isn't that fun? I love it. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our notes and see if we can break some stuff down, make sense of it. So what you're gonna turn into me every week is the weekly questions at the end of your homework, right? Any lab that you haven't finished.
Do I still need to find her out?
No, as long as you have your notes out, you're good for now, okay? Any lab you haven't finished, you're gonna hand that in, and then your test you're gonna do every week too, online. Be sure, once you open that test, it's 1 hour. If you get up and walk away and go eat dinner, it's gonna stop. It's gonna cut you out and it's gonna score you at 1 hour.
Oh God.
Okay? Now, for those of you who that haven't done it before or may not remember it, there are some questions on the test where it's gonna ask you to write an answer, like write a short answer instead of multiple choice or true false. And it's going to score that answer wrong every time because it can't possibly, as a computer system, read your answer and make sense of it. It will score it wrong, but it'll say, like an answer will pop up for you and it will say manually graded. So if you answer a question and you check answer A and you click to the next question, it'll pop up and tell you whether you got it right or not. It'll say, A, whatever. But for those ones where you have to write, it'll say manually graded. And if it says that, it's not really wrong. I have to go through them all still.
Dude, I had like a panic attack after I got like a D. I was like, oh
Oh my
my
gosh.
God, no.
So don't worry about them.
You suck.
When your test is done, when I've gone back through all of those and I've checked them all, I'll go back and click it. So you should get a notification that it's a final grade, all right? And then if you have questions, you'll know how to get to me. All right, so this first 4 lessons, and I was telling the younger group this too, the first 4 lessons in this class are the how to do science, and then the earth science portion. We did earth science for like 9 months together, almost all of us. So we have done some earth science. Have you done earth science before to any degree? Not really?
What's Earth?
Okay. Shannon, have you done any earth science?
I think I've heard of her.
You? Okay. So the three of you, Henry Cole, the three of you are at a slight disadvantage in that you didn't go over it last year. The point of the first 3 lessons is that most physical science classes have an earth science component, but most of us have already done it. So what we've done is we've compacted all those earth science chapters into the first 3-4 lessons. Well, the first lesson's how to do science, and after that it becomes like 3 lessons of earth science, and we are going to whip through them. So what we're doing is we're covering a broad amount of material in a very small amount of time, and it looks like a ton of work, and it kind of is a ton of work, but it's only through lesson 4. Once you get to lesson 5, that stops entirely. Yeah, and then what we get is just the physics type stuff. When we get to just the physics stuff, it's a small amount of material in a lot of time, because we're going to do a lot of detail.
I
Huh?
love physics.
Physics is your favorite. Well, like if you look at the syllabus, for example, like it looks ridiculous for you guys because it says for lesson 2 and 3, for example, it's just crazy. Like lesson 2, look at that. Chapter 22, all of it. Chapter 23, all of it. That's a lot, right? That's a whole lot. But when you get to lesson 5, it's chapter 11, section 1 and section 2. It's not even the whole chapter.
Oh,
It's
Wow.
tiny.
It's a lot to work.
So it's only these first, so don't panic with these first 4. Now, for the 3 of you who did not do earth science last year, for those of them that did can probably fill in the notes without even reading the chapters.
Oh, yes, 100%.
These 3 guys are going to need help from those of you who already have been over some of this, because truthfully, reading 2 chapters in a week is a lot. Skim them. Truthfully, skim them, fill out what you can. If there's something you're unsure about, that's when you go to the forum on the website that says just Lab Rats. There's one that's just you guys. And you go in there and you say, okay, hey, I wasn't here last year. I didn't get earth science. I don't understand this one. And people will help you out, okay? Because I don't expect you guys to be experts at it all. All right? All right.
The only thing I really picked up from her science was about water condensing on bottles.
There we go.
My bracelets are like
All right, so we're starting with what is science? The younger group didn't even have this in their book. I had to write a lesson for them. They didn't even have a what is science or how to do science. It's ridiculous. So we're looking at our notes.
What is life after all?
Have the 3 of you, I know you have Ivy and Aaron. Have you worked with notes, like traditional notes in this form before, where it's like Roman numeral and the letter A and then number 1?
looks like an outline.
Yeah, outline notes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, good. We're going to be doing a lot of those this year. And by the end of the year, I'm hoping that you all will do them yourselves.
What?
Oh,
I did it at the big, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
The final project?
I don't know why you would subject yourself to that.
just as being able to do it. So, science. What is science? So our first section in the book said science from curiosity, right?
Yes.
All right. Science is who can read number 1? A number 1.
I can do it.
Go for it.
Science is a system of knowledge and methods used to find knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Science is a system of knowledge and a method used to find knowledge. Be sure you've got those filled in. Everything off your tests is coming directly from your notes. There may be a few thinking questions, but this is where you're going to find it all. All right. And then who would like to do A2? Henry?
Science often begins with curiosity and ends with discovery.
Cool. Awesome. Ethan, do you want to do the next one, or science and technology number 1?
Yeah, sure. Technology is the use of knowledge to solve practical problems.
Okay, excellent.
Where's Andrew?
Anybody want to do B2, Cole?
Science and technology are interdependent. Advances in one leads to advances in the other.
Right. Perfect. All right, now we got our branches of science. All right, and I drew this out for the other group too, because I had a formatting error.
It wasn't worth the same.
Yep.
One in the book.
Yeah, I know.
I had a formatting error, and it just,
We were confused.
We had like
Cole
a
caught
15-minute
it.
argument about it.
Oh yeah, like the life signs.
She's like, no,
I love you with
mistakes.
three white boys.
I didn't think I did, but I did. So we've got science, right? I'm gonna move it so you can see. Hold on. There we go. Isn't this so much better than the
so
whole thing? I know, because I'm awesome. All right, science.
Branches of science.
Okay. Yes. All right, 3 branches of science. All right, so what are our 3 major branches of science? Somebody give me one. Formal. Okay.
Social
Social.
Formal, social,
and
and
natural.
natural. Okay. Formal, social, and natural. All right. You may want to like draw on the side of your notes
No.
because sometimes it helps, or get an extra piece of paper. There's some right there. Natural.
No.
Okay. All right. What are the formal sciences? Somebody want to tell me what they are? Go for it.
Mathematics, logic, and statistics are really
Mathematics.
fun things.
Yeah,
Very
Mathematics,
fun.
I love logic.
logic,
Yeah.
and
Logic-
statistics.
Logic's the only good.
Logic puzzles are actually pretty fun.
I love them. When I asked the group earlier today what logic was, Drew said your favorite rapper.
Hey.
What?
Nice.
Yes. All right.
Nice.
Like
So, we know what math is.
Logic.
Somebody tell me what logic is. What's yeah?
Logic is something. I don't really. How do you describe it though? It's
It's hard to describe.
It's like a method of thinking.
common sense.
Common sense.
Yeah, it's a method of thinking.
Using
Okay.
clues to
Every
deduce
time-
things
It's
no matter what.
strictly fact.
Yeah.
There's
Don't
nothing
lean
other
back
than-
in the chairs.
I can't lean back in your chair.
I'm gonna make you sit against the window.
Yeah, Nelly, I literally can't lean back.
Okay. Yeah. So So has everybody done a logic puzzle? Has anybody
Yeah,
ever not done a
I
logic
believe
puzzle?
her.
Okay, so it's stuff like, this is the example I gave the younger group. It'll say something like hat, shoes, and coat. And then it'll say like Joe, Jim, and Jenny. And then it'll say like 3 friends went shopping on
Jim
Saturday.
doesn't have a shoe.
and-
He has a coat.
Yeah, three friends went shopping on Saturday. One bought a hat, one bought shoes, and one bought a coat. Sometimes it'll have another category, and it'll be like colors or stores. And then it'll say, you know, Joe did not buy shoes. Okay. And then it'll say, like, Jim bought the hat. So you go, okay, now I know that Jim bought the hat, so that.
But you don't have a graph, you do this in your mind.
Wait,
No,
why?
you can do it like this, and then it'll say, what?
I would
You
never
did,
allow
Oh, why'd you cross out Joe's
This
toe?
is how the puzzle works.
Because, no, that's got her hat.
I would never do that.
Oh, Jim got a hat.
Jim got
Joe
the
had-
hat.
Yeah, then why did you cross
Oh,
out?
I'm sorry,
Joe is
Jim got
boring.
the hat.
Y'all did dumb.
What did I say about
Shoes.
shoes? I said Jim did not get shoes.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what I
you
said.
said Joe did not get shoes, but.
Did you ever do the ones with
I don't know.
where it was like
And then it'll say like a girl bought the shoes, and then we can, you know, assume her gender and go, okay, you know, that's you know.
That's wrong, Danny.
No.
That is wrong.
It doesn't matter, no one. It's okay. It's okay.
Anyway, it's that kind of a thing. I have some apps on my phone that are fun. If you like this, I've got one that's really fun, and I've got one that's such torture that I gave up for a while. I'm like, I can't look at it. All right, so
What
how
are they
about
called?
what are statistics?
They're like I had
Oh,
I had
we
a hard time telling travelers because I couldn't figure it out either. But like
Numbers.
He tried.
he really did.
Yeah, he really
He
did.
really did.
Yeah.
Hang
It's
on,
like
she's
that.
hang on, she's answering.
They're like you like it's like because never mind.
Yeah, you can't like that.
I
Statistics.
Statistics are kind of are numbers and percentages
Yeah.
to show, I guess you could, facts or
an assumed fact.
well, kind of, but it's or
Fiction?
no,
Sometimes it involves demographics, for example.
demographics
So, yeah.
or
Percentages, ratios. So if you
things that happen and things
Yeah.
that are in
If you
progress.
follow baseball, all these baseball players, they all have their statistics, right? It's their stats.
So we're
for-
science?
With their, yeah, that's a science, their RBI or whatever it is. And then there's statistics on, like the census, the US
What's that
Census is statistics.
FRCK?
Shh, guys, I'm not gonna do anything where I talk over everybody, right? So statistics could include, like the US Census, how many people live in a city, what's the average age, what's the median income, how are the genders and races varied out between cities and areas, whatever, all that statistics.
Apparently.
All right, how about social sciences? What are the social sciences?
Human behavior and society.
Okay, wait till you're called on.
Yeah.
But yes, behavior in society. Oops, wrong one. All right, so
Psycho.
what kind of person studies this kind of science?
Psychologist.
Psychologists, yep, that's a good one.
Um,
But social workers,
Author.
Psychologist.
it's even in the name, social workers, yeah, psychologists, right? Sociologists,
Sociopath.
Okay, and how about natural science? What do we do with natural science? We have to do what?
Earth, physical.
Earth,
Life
space.
science.
Can we break it
Astronomy,
down?
physics, chemistry, and geology.
Right.
Pick on
Astronomy, physics, chemistry, it breaks down into all these. Now, in your notes, there was the formatting error. So if you want to look at your notes and look at number section Roman numeral 1, letter C, number 3, little b, that 4 where it says
Yeah.
earth science, where should that be?
What?
Where should it be?
Yeah, where should that be?
What should it?
I don't know.
Reverse order.
Okay, so
What order should it be?
here's your natural sciences. They have 2.
What?
They have life science
Biology.
and physical science.
Yeah.
All right. Life science breaks down into tons of stuff.
Yeah.
You've got biology, zoology,
got-
entomology.
Yeah,
all-
biology,
Virology.
etc. Those are the
Astronomy.
only 2 ones.
Biology,
No, there's
et
lots.
cetera.
And then physical breaks down into the ones you just said, which are
Physics,
yeah,
geology,
physics,
astronomy.
Physics, chemistry. It just in the book. It just said physics and chemistry.
yeah, and then what? Then
Astrology.
you have earth science, and it breaks down. So here's how your notes should look for physical science. If you want to correct them, it should be under B,
No, fine.
physical science, and then it has physics, right?
Yep.
Like this, okay?
Yeah.
And then it should have,
Astronomy.
hang on, it
Astrology.
should have chemistry. And then it should have earth science.
Mm.
So that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what goes under earth science?
Astrology.
Astronomy.
Astrology.
Actually, wait, no, this
Star
should be-
signs.
Ew.
Sorry, this should be safe.
True comedian.
Wait, should it be?
Funny fun.
Oh, this could be, shoot, I messed it up again. I can't even read what I wrote. Should go here. And then, where does that go? Oh, it's here. Okay, this goes like this. I'm fixing it now because I can't even read what I wrote. Sorry, guys. And then you have astronomy under.
And that's all life stuff. Dang.
All right, that should fix that.
Yes.
Does that make sense if you look at it that way?
1000%.
1000%. I love it. Okay, that should fix that. So then you have big ideas in
Big ideas all the time.
Yep, big ideas. So I'll give you guys a second to do that, and then I'm actually gonna change it on here because people are watching this.
Ooh. You're FBI.
The CIA.
Change it to back camera. Everyone would love to see a little
No.
section
No,
of the
we
book.
don't do that.
For the back camera on that computer.
I'm sitting right at it.
I can't let you wait to see the book.
All right. Physics and chemistry.
I can't see you from this.
These go here. All right, I'm fixing this one so that it's hopefully not confusing anymore. All right. So would somebody like to read the big idea part to me or out loud for everybody? Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Big ideas of physical science. 1, space and time. 2, matter and change. 3, forces and motion.
Mhm.
Energy.
There you go.
Okay, it's exciting. All right. So these are the big points that we're going to be covering this year, right?
Yeah, point.
Right. Science.
Say hi.
Oh, one other thing I wanted to say. Sometimes these crisscross each other, these branches of science. So, for example, you mentioned a psychologist is a social scientist. That's correct.
Yeah.
What's a psychiatrist?
Like who I go
doctor.
see.
The doctor.
A doctor. Well, what kind of
I
doctor?
just need everyone to bring
Right
it
now,
down.
a
That's
therapist
a-
or
I don't know,
something.
like
Yeah.
a mental health
It's a mental
doctor.
therapist.
Right. So a psychologist is like a therapist that is a social scientist. A psychiatrist is a medical doctor that deals with
So one side.
Psychology.
Mental problem.
No, the psychiatrist is both. He deals with behavioral things.
So one has like a medical degree and the other one.
Yes, a psychologist does not have a medical doctor's degree. He's a doctor, but he's a doctor of, or she is a doctor of psychology, not psychiatry. Right on. Okay. So, science and your perspective. Science is a what? E1. Process and a body of knowledge.
Bring
Okay.
those buzzers back. I
It's
want
both.
chaos to unfold.
Well, I want you to practice raising your hand because that would be awesome. All right, let's see. I love when people raise their hands.
You good over there, bro? You good there?
He hasn't been in class with me for a while. He forgot. All right then. Mhm.
I don't even know what he's
Awesome. Okay.
Let's have him back to you.
All right. So then, what should you be? In science, you should always be what?
Skeptical.
All right. What did we do last year that really drove this point home, I hope? What did we watch?
Oh yeah, about some global warming thing.
The global warming things. And most of you were not as skeptical at the beginning as you were at the end. Would I be correct in saying that? A lot of you were much more skeptical after you watched them. Always be skeptical, never take anything at face value, right? That's not what we want to do.
Is that the one with him complaining about his grandma dying? Or was that a different-
Sister.
Oh.
Sister died, yeah. He started with the sister died.
Kid got ran over by traffic.
So last
Yeah.
year we watched, when we did the climate
Such a
and,
weird deal.
Cole. We did the climate unit. We watched 2 back-to-back documentaries. We watched Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth, which is very, which is very, very focused towards the man-made global warming viewpoint, that all the global warming problems are created by man. And it's our fault, and we're gonna die if we don't fix it. It's very, very like alarmist. And then the other one was the polar opposite. It was like, nothing wrong. And it was totally not alarmist. And it was from the viewpoint of it's not man-made.
British people.
Yeah, well, it was a British documentary, BBC. But that second documentary refuted the first documentary. And then there are other things after that have refuted the second documentary. So always be skeptical. Whenever anybody says the science is settled, it's not settled. It's never settled. Yes.
Do you think we'll find out what really is true when they raid Area 51?
I don't know, man. If I see people running this, that will make my day. I want to see don't you want to see that?
They can't stop all. Yes, they can.
Easily.
They can kill all of
Yup.
us. Easily.
Yeah.
They put a public warning up that we are completely
Yeah, the Air Force
willing
is
and
taking
going
this
to.
completely seriously.
All right, so let's keep going. Come on. So always be skeptical, always ask questions, and believe in the,
Scientific process.
please raise your hand first. The process.
He did raise his hand.
Yeah, but then you speak when you're called on. The process. The process would be this process, scientific method, right? Okay, now, we've talked about scientific method before, and it's one of those things that kind of goes, it doesn't look like a nice flow chart, does it? It's not this nice straight,
It's a circle.
it can be kind of crazy. But the point is, I give the following example for the other group because they're not as familiar with it yet. So let's say you get headaches frequently. Lots of headaches, and they're terrible and you hate them. And you have heard that sitting quietly and closing your eyes in a dark room can get rid of your headache.
Sounds awful.
You've also heard Tylenol can get rid of your headache. You've also heard that sticking your feet in a bucket of ice water can get rid of your headache. And you've also heard that sniffing peppermint oil can get rid of your headache. So you've heard these 4 things, all right? So you get a headache again. Here it comes. And you're like, oh, no, another headache. So you go shut yourself in a dark room, stick your feet in an ice bucket, take Tylenol and sniff peppermint oil, and magically your headache goes away. How do you know what did it?
You don't.
You don't. Because what do we call those 4 things?
Variables.
Variables. Those are all the variables. We don't know. Some
They
of
are.
them might be, right? But we don't know,
I mean, if you
right?
sniff peppermint oil, you're gonna just smell good.
Okay.
So, placebo. Good point.
Maybe no.
Okay.
Just because you don't understand essential oils does not mean that they don't work.
There you go. Okay. So, guys, Henry, Cole, Well, placebo is a variable. So the variable, just so Ethan hit on something. So a placebo, for example, stop.
Sorry, I made a mistake.
Cole, come on. A placebo, for example, is say you're in a study and they're giving you medicine for, I don't care, your headaches. Okay, they have a new pill to fix your headaches. They're going to get a study group of 1,000 people. They're going to give half of them the pill and half of them a placebo, which looks just like the pill, but it's not the pill. It's got no active ingredients. It's just inert. It might be like cornstarch and water, whatever's in it. Some people say sugar. Nothing. Nothing that is supposed to be an active ingredient to fix the headache, right? Okay. The reason they do that, the reason they do that is because one of the variables when you're putting people in a study, for example, is I'm convinced this will make me better, and you take it. Well, that whole attitude can change the way you feel. So they give you a placebo, so you don't know whether or not what you're taking is actually going to make you better. So everybody has the same thought process the whole way, because that's a variable. This, I'm convinced it's going to make me better. You know, people are convinced. My granddaddy drank a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar every day of his life and swears that's why he lived to be 96. And he was saying it the whole time. That's why I'm still alive. You know, I'm drinking my vinegar. I don't know, but he believed it, so it probably did keep him alive because he believed it.
That's what my grandmother does.
Vinegar?
Yeah, she drinks vinegar.
I don't know about that, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so scientific method. Somebody read me. Okay, section 2, A1. Who wants to do that one for me?
I'll do it.
Go for it.
Section 2.
Section 2, A1.
Okay. Scientific method. Scientific method is the first one. The second one is problem.
No, read the sentence. Goofy.
Organized plan for gathering, organizing, and communicating information. Scientific method. The goal of any scientific method is to solve a problem or to better understand and observe the event. Making observations. A observation is information you obtain through your senses. Forming hypothesis.
Okay, you can stop there. Wait. Stop at observation. So any information you obtain through your senses. So do observations have to be something you see? No, it can be something you hear, smell, taste, touch. It can be something you feel. It can be something, you know, we have vestibular sense. Like, are you hanging upside down right now or upright? Would you know if you were hanging upside down even if your eyes were closed?
Yeah.
If you're in a car and you close your eyes, do you know if you're turning right, left, backing up and going forward? That's all vestibular, right? It's vestibular. Those of us who have jacked up vestibular apparatus have horrible motion sickness. So, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
The vestibular thing gives you the whole sense of falling too. Like I've heard about, you ever seen how newborn babies startle?
Like,
yeah, you barely move them and and then they cry and they get all upset. And
then
that's because it's that I've heard that they're having the same experience you have when you're laying in bed and you're almost asleep, and then you do that thing. We all do it. And you're, what am I doing? Yeah, you jerk like that. Yeah, that's the same thing. It's just immature in them. So, all right. So somebody do number 4, forming a hypothesis. Go ahead, Cole.
Forming a hypothesis. A hypothesis, a proposed answer to a question.
Right, okay. Now, some people say it's an educated guess. It's a proposed answer. They're hard to understand because it gets really picky and specific when it comes to hypotheses. So, under that, it says testing a hypothesis. So, if you remember last year, we referred to independent variables and dependent variables, correct? This book is using the terminology manipulated variable and responding variable. I find that to be less common terminology. Interestingly, the same publisher published the middle school level book and used independent and dependent. But for whatever reason, in the high school level book in this particular year,
it's confusing.
That's it.
Might be.
So manipulated is independent and responding. And I think they were choosing those. God, Cole? Michael, I think they were using those because they thought it better described the variable. So your independent variable is the thing that can be manipulated by the experimenter, and it's the thing that can cause a change. So if you look at the little graphic down there, it says independent variable, what I change, dependent variable, what I observe, right? And then controlled variable. Okay, so if we go back to our headache example, all right, your independent variables or manipulated variables would be the 4 things you're doing, right? The the ice water, the what was it? Ice water, peppermint, dark room, and what was the other? Tylenol. Okay, those things. All right. How many of those should you have in an experiment? One. We just explained why, right? Because that gets crazy. Your dependent variable would be what? It's what's changing. So what would it be?
Your headache.
Your headache, right. Your headache would be your dependent variable, or your, as they call it, your responding variable. Did my headache get better? And then the controlled variable is everything else. So it would be stuff like, how much sleep have I had? What time of day is it? What's the temperature in the room? What am I wearing? Is my ponytail too tight? Ladies, you know what I mean. That'll give you a headache. It can, man, it hurts. So those are your controls. Those are the things you don't want to change, things you want to keep the same. All right, so under drawing conclusions, if your data does not support your hypothesis, you may revise or rewrite it or conduct a new experiment to test the new hypothesis. Remember that when it comes to a hypothesis, you can't ever entirely 100% prove it. You can support it, or you can find that your experiment does not support it. Proving it, not really, because you would have to do it again and again and again and again and again and again and again, a million times, and you can't do it that many times.
It's settled science.
So, but it's called, that's exactly why, because science is never settled. So it's not proven, it's supported. So you're saying, my hypothesis was that if I sniffed peppermint oil, my headache would go away, and you do it, and it works, then you can say it was supported. But in order for it to have some clout, you have to do it again. It has to be, some importance, some seriousness. It has to be able to be replicated. So you have to replicate your results in order for them to have value, right? You're going to replicate your results, because if you only got it once, how do you know it's not a fluke? So when we do labs in here, there will be 4 groups. So if everybody gets the same results, that's our replication right there. If we don't all get the same results, then we have to look. Okay, what happened?
If we all fluked?
Right, that's the thing. Maybe everybody fluked. Fluking is possible.
Unlike
What?
No. All right, so here's where we get to the sticky part. Everybody remembers the sticky part. I heard that one.
Yeah.
Scientific theory versus scientific law. You all remember this, right?
yes.
So what does a theory tell you about something?
Not much. It's like a yes.
There's an easy word you can use. A theory tells you why.
Oh, right.
And what does a law tell you?
How?
What?
What?
Yeah, so basically, if I hold a little rubber ball in my hand like this, and I open it, what is going to happen?
It's gonna fall.
It's going to fall.
It's gonna bounce.
That's the what. It's going to do it every time. It's what happens. If I open my hand, it's going to fall. Which way is it going to fall?
Down.
Down. Is it ever going to fall that way?
If you're in space.
No, but here on Earth, these conditions the same. Is it ever going to go any other way?
Yes.
It's going to keep going down.
Okay.
So that's a law. It's a what. It does it every time. Why does it do that?
Gravity.
There's your theory. So gravity is one of those things that's both a theory and a law. The law describes the fact that things always go to the center of the earth. That's a what, right? And your why would be, well, because we believe things are drawn towards the largest thing draws in the smaller things. That's the whole why. So scientific theory is a well-substantiated explanation of some aspect of the natural world that is not yet verified, but that, if true, would explain certain facts or phenomena. So gravity, as a theory, if you think about it, can't really verify it. How could you possibly verify it, right? But what you can say is, if it's true, it explains a lot, right? It explains why your butt is on the chair and not on the ceiling, or wherever else your butt may want to go today. We've already heard about your butt's location last year. That was last year's thing.
Wait, what? Sorry.
We heard all about it. Yeah, how could you forget it? It was the moment. Okay, so Henry stepped out like he did there.
Oh, yeah.
And he came back in and said,
Oh, I know one thing was standing. Either
Your toe was too small.
Either that or my butt's too big.
I sat down and everyone's like, what the?
You just sat down and nothing happened. Too.
Yeah.
My butt's too big.
I just remember looking over at home and just us looking at each other.
Oh my god, that was so funny. Nice one, Miss Sandy. That was funny.
Too small or my butt's too big. I just sat down.
It was so casual, but it was downright hysterical, as you can tell. So, a scientific theory tells why something happens. It's the explanation for the phenomena you're witnessing, right? So, here's the note again. I give it every year. There are multiple theories of origin. That means how we got here, right? Y'all know the Ancient Aliens guy, right?
Yeah.
He thinks we're all here because we have like alien DNA and the
Not
aliens
saying
put
it's
us here, but it's aliens, right? And then there are some indigenous tribes that believe we were molded from mud and became beings. There's biblical creationism. There's all kinds of different theories of origin, right?
Technically,
But it's a
is
science class. So you are gonna come in here and refinish all my floors. Science class, what theories do we discuss? Scientific. We don't discuss the alien guys' theories, and we don't discuss the religious theories. We discuss the scientific theories. If it were a religion class, we would discuss the religious theories because that would be the topic. Yeah, here you go. It is in theology. So it says science class and will be taught. Ooh, I caught a typo and you didn't catch it. And will be taught from a scientific perspective, guys. This, all theories of origin are discussed in this class will be scientific theories. So different people have different beliefs. So what I'm saying is any answer you give in this class or any question you ask, you can imagine that the words before it are according to scientific theory and not I personally believe, right?
Danny,
Yes,
I think you might have actually made another typo.
I caught it just
Yeah,
now.
the different people hold different personal and religions belief.
Okay, there's one you caught that I didn't catch. Religious, it should say. Good. I think you all are at 5, if I'm not wrong. Brownie points, for those of you who don't know, if you catch typos. I'm not counting formatting errors this first 9 weeks because there's just too daggone. But if you catch typos or spelling errors, or if I say something incorrect or whatever, and not like I'm just writing and I missed something minor, but I've missed something. And you tell me and you point it out, you get brownie points. 25 brownie points, you get brownies or cookies or whatever. Rookies, that too. So then laws.
Tacos.
Laws are rules or principles that always work the same way under the same conditions. That's what you said when I said, what if I dropped this, blah, 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 and you're like, oh, but if you were not on Earth or you were in space or you're in the moon, right? That's a different condition. So the laws are the same under the same conditions. Everybody has that one?
Mm-hmm.
So number 2, under B, says a scientific law describes an observed pattern in nature without trying to explain it. The explanation is in the theory. So law tells what happens. It's a truth. Theory tells why it happens. It's an explanation.
Yeah.
All right, and then, all right, so now we talk a little bit about models. And you guys know most of this. This is just like how to do science stuff. So what's a model? It's a what? What does it say?
Representation.
A representation, very good, of an object or an event. Sometimes a model is a way easier way to conceive of something than describing it. Like if I was trying to describe the solar system to you, it's really hard for you to conceive of how vast it is. But we're going to do a lab.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's our lesson 3, I want to say, where we are going to go outside. God willing, it's not going to rain because it's going to be amazing.
The stupid paper trail with the chalk.
No.
No. I have a measuring wheel, like the kind surveyors use. We're going to go down into the cul-de-sac and we're going to put the sun there and we're going to track my entire street and see how far we can get the planets to go. So you can see, and then we're going to have models of the planet so you can see just how big it is. I'm not touching your father's drone. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you misspelled representation in C1. Oh, it was me.
I'm looking at it going, how do you even have that? You're a total goof. I love it.
You just spelled representation C.
He's just being Henry.
Bro,
All right, scientific models make it easier to understand things that might be too difficult to what? Observe directly. So always follow safety rules. That's the next one. Teacher's instructions, lab directions. What do we do with directions? What do we do?
Follow them.
What do we do first?
Read them all.
We read them all the way through, right? It doesn't do any good to start and get halfway through and be like, whoops, I don't have whatever I need, or I totally didn't know I was supposed to do this. I always read them all the way through first.
Y'all got bamboozled drawing your squares in your top right corner.
You said bamboozled. I love it. All right. All right, so scientific notation. We've been here before, right?
I love scientific notation.
Do you?
Yes.
All right.
It's so simple.
It is
So
simple.
simple.
It is simple, and it really does help make things easier. So, where's my
It
thing?
makes everything easier.
It's
Got it. It can be.
scientific notation.
No, it's
Right.
not really.
Now,
I mean,
there's
it's not fun, but it's
multiple
not
ways to think about it
I
when
discovered
it
a new
comes
love for
to
it.
how you want to write. All right.
easy.
So here's the example that we had. The example we had was this number.
300 million.
I was gonna say, what is this number? 300 million. All right. Now, you also have the significant digit thing, which we talked about, Henry. So basically, how many points past the decimal do you want? How specific do you need to be? If you're weighing out 5 million apples, you may be fine if you just go. You'd probably be fine if you said, you know, yeah, 5 million apples. What if you had 5.4
3, 2,
times
1.
10 to the 8th apples? Okay, that's probably enough for apples.
That's a lot of
This
apples.
is probably enough. But if you were measuring grains of sand, which are tiny, maybe you want a few more of these going this way, right? So you can be more specific, right? It kind of depends on what you're using. It's flexible based on what you're using. So how do we do this? All right.
3.0 EA.
So 3.0
Wait, so now it's supposed to go.
times, and then we do 10 to the 8 is your exponent. Okay. Now, sometimes you're going to be involved in
Are you
stuff
good over there?
where it's easier to do them in multiples of 3. Is that you? The reason it's easier to do them in multiples of 3 is because, right?
Yeah.
So if we did 3 times 10 to the 9, what is that?
3 with
3
9 zeros after it.
Yeah, 3 with,
It's 300, though. It's 300 million.
right, 3 with 8, because 3 is this guy.
It would be.
Right,
It would
what?
be
3.0 times 10. 3.0 times 10 to the
30.
8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh,
So our last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have them, them. What,
30.
did I do one wrong? Oh, no, I counted right there.
Why do you
Them. There you go. Right? See that?
Well, they don't ever want to.
So this is 10 to the 8, right? This was 3.0 times 10 to the 8. So that's 3.0. Then you're going to move the decimal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Your decimal's at the end now. There's 300 million, right?
I said I like
If you wanted to do it, if you wanted to not mess around with the decimal, it's always helpful to do it in multiples of 3. And that is, like I showed you right here,
Oh, yeah.
3 times 10 to the 9, that's 3. Here's your decimal, right? Yes,
I normally just condense the times 10 to E.
you can,
Yeah, whatever.
but you don't really need to. Yeah, times 10.
Smaller.
So this is helpful when you're dealing with big numbers, right?
Multiplication dot.
And typically in science, we're going to use metric, and we're going to use significant digits, and we're going to use scientific notation so that we don't make ourselves crazy with massive, long, weird, hard to calculate numbers. So,
Are Americans just too stupid to use the metric system?
Yeah.
you know,
No, we're
we're
too woke to use the
stubborn.
metric system.
We're very
say woke.
stubborn. But truthfully,
You go to
like,
McDonald's, you
we get ourselves diabetes and we go back anyway.
Truthfully though, it's just,
You get a taste of
shh, guys, it's an adaptation that we're not comfortable with, I think, as a culture, because if you think about it, if I say it's, 40 degrees outside, you're like, daggone, that's cold, right? But it's not cold if that's Celsius.
Yeah.
and so you're just, it's in our culture and it's in our brains, and we do everything with feet and we don't use kilograms, and
It'd be really hard.
in
to
science we do. So,
we take like 3 or 4 generations to completely switch.
people are terrible about not wanting to switch. All right, so let's move on, because we got about 18 minutes and then we're done.
Oh.
All right. So scientific notation is a way of expressing a value of the product as a number between 1 and 10 and a power of 10, right? We just did that. Scientific notation makes very large or very small numbers. If you do that, it's a negative exponent, right? Or very small numbers easier to work with. So your SI units are, they use a set of measuring units called Système International d'Unité. But it's, isn't that great? That's international units. And that's what's in your little chart there, right? And it shows you basically what we were just talking about with metric. We use meters, kilograms. What's Kelvin? What do we use Kelvin for?
Oh, it's really, really hot. Or extreme.
The other way.
Oh, it's Celsius,
Really,
but
really
like
cold.
it's 100
Really
high or
freezing.
something.
So Kelvin, we use Kelvin. You can use Kelvin when things are really, really hot. The reason is because Kelvin is based on absolute zero. So water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius, but frozen water still has atomic particles and subatomic particles in motion. Absolute zero is no motion. Everything stops.
Zero is when you can stay forever.
And it's insanely cold. Like,
Never.
Alexa, convert 0 Kelvin to Fahrenheit.
0 Kelvin is minus 459.67 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's a cold boy.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. So I can't keep numbers in my head, so I just ask her.
I'd say
All right, so we use, shh, Henry, Cole. We use length, we use meters, right? Mass, we use grams. That's your base unit. Time, we still use seconds. Now, nobody has ever come up yet with the time thing that we can all commonly use that's broken into tens. That would be handy, but we'd all be super confused. Temperature, you do Kelvin or Celsius. Amount is mole. If you've never heard of a mole before. Oh my gosh, I saw the cutest t-shirt. It was a mole in a beaker. Anyway, it was a mole. I'll have to.
was it a mole?
It was a mole, like,
Was it a mole?
Yeah.
What's that?
like a mole. The
A
little-
mole?
Yeah.
Mole.
Amps and luminosity, luminous intensity, candela, all these units. You guys see them, right? Cubic meters, blah, blah, blah. And then you have prefixes and suffixes. Right. Prefixes and suffixes. Okay, you got giga. Now who has seen Back to the Future?
No.
Right? Everybody's seen it. How much power do you need to move the DeLorean?
A lot.
Back in time. How much power?
Megawatts.
No.
300.
No.
3,000.
No. 1.21.
1.21.
I had to yell it like him.
1.21 what?
Gigawatts.
He says gigawatts, and it's not. It's giga. That's what's the funny thing is they stick to gigawatt through the whole movie, and it's giga. So, all right. And if you look at guys, come on. If you look at number 5 under metric prefixes, you got your kilo, hecto, deca, then your unit, deci, centi, and milli. Do you see that? Does everybody see it? So what is the little mnemonic device you can use to remember them? It's written right there in the top. Does everybody see it?
King Henry died unusually drinking chocolate milk.
Yep. King Henry died unusually drinking chocolate milk. And if you are sticking with, if unusually is a hard one for you, and you just want to remember that it's a unit that goes there, you can use the standard for length, which is meter, and it can be King Henry died Monday drinking chocolate milk. You can do that either way, right? Don't drink chocolate milk if your name is Henry.
I don't drink.
Okay.
I only drink water.
So limits of measurement. We got to roll through these and wrap it up, guys. So limits of measurement, precision is limited by how exact the measurement is, right? So certain things are going to be more exact than others. Some scales are only going to go out 1 decimal point. Some scales are going to go out like 3. And then you've also got just more sensitive scales. Anybody ever had the experience of, like, for example, I had blood work done at my doctor and then a specialist did it, same blood work, and the results were different because their devices were more sensitive and they picked up tiny, tiny, tiny amounts of things that the other ones didn't. Anybody have similar experience, like with a scale or anything, right? It can be different. Never had that experience? So here we are at significant digit. It's all the digits that are known in an estimate, plus the last digit, which is estimated. Okay, so you got to estimate the last. Got to estimate the last digit. All right, that's rounding or estimating. Precision of a calculated answer. What?
The precision of calculated answer is limited by least precise measurement.
Correct. So a measurement is only as precise as your least precise measurement. That makes sense, right? Okay. Accuracy is the closeness of a measurement to the actual value being measured. And then for temperature, we measure with obviously a thermometer. All right, tables and graphs real quick. We're going to wrap this up. Tables and graphs. All right. So data tables are the simplest way to organize. What does it say for number 2?
Line graph.
Line graphs are useful to show changes that occur in related variables. Whenever I'm trying to make a point, I always look for a graph of some kind of a graphic. It is so much easier to understand changes or numbers over time or anything if you can look at it with your eyes instead of reading it every year. Like, say we wanted to know how many babies were born in the U.S. between 2000 and 2019. And if you wanted to know whether the birth rate went up or down each year, like how many each year, you could read how many each year, or you could look at a graph that showed you that some years were less and other years were more. And that's just, it's much easier to see it that way. And line graphs useful in showing changes occur. Direct proportion, that's the ratio of two variables is constant, and then inverse proportion is the product of two variables is constant. Okay, bar graphs. You know what those are, right?
Yeah.
They're the ones with the little chunky things, right? Yep, little chunky things at the bottom. Doesn't go like this, goes like this. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Sometimes the bar graph is the best thing for you. And then circle graphs.
In anyone who tries to do that graph question.
Pie chart. Mm-hmm.
My
With a
favorite.
pretty dummy-dumb.
All right, and then I don't even know what that was. Communicating data. All right. Where are you guys have your homework questions, right?
Yeah.
No, we put them up there.
I know, but I mean you had them because for some reason they didn't show up on my thing and I don't know why. So the homework, that's what I want to make sure you guys understand. So that's okay. I want to make sure y'all know what's up. So when you go into your binder, behind your let me open it. Oh, I think I already have it. Oh no, I'm in the teacher ones. So behind your notes, which is what we just went over, right? That's kind of like a study guide for you. Behind that, the very next thing that you'll come up on is, for you guys, it's going to be your homework. And it'll say weekly questions. And there's usually between like 3 and 5. Yeah. It's one page, and that's what got turned in, right? So that's what you're going to turn in every week. And you're going to turn those in, and then you're going to turn in any lab work that you didn't finish. Right?
Oh.
Right? And you're going to do your test. Where is your test? Online.
On Teacher Ease, right?
Yeah.
On Teacher Ease. How long do you have to take your test?
An hour.
An hour. That's it. Yep, you have an hour. Rico. So on the back of your homework page, there is our little rat. The dude that's on the front.
He's a rat.
That's Rico.
I thought he was a mouse.
What?
I liked it.
Wow, rat.
Did this week.
You're dumb.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Aaron.
Rico will have a theme every week. It's written on the bottom of your homework page. So on the very bottom of your questions, it'll say, like right here,
Color Rico of friends and show the team. A weekly winner will be chosen and a small prize awarded. Be sure that you do not put your name on the Rico side of the paper.
Not.
This week's theme is Rockstar.
Yes.
That was not
Thank you,
actually
Cole.
the thing.
Yes,
What's the small prize? Like $5 or something?
that's not small, dude. No.
Well, that could buy me.
It's
like,
usually like a pack of
so
gummy
many
bears or
Cokes.
something.
Yeah, I buy you two.
Usually
Yeah,
what?
they're little ones. I got them at Costco.
Oh, this is we're out. Do you book Coke?
You're not, unless you got in the closet and ate them, did you?
Over the summer, you and I may
Are you really seriously? You ate my gummy bears?
have.
I'm gonna slap
Over the
you.
summer, you and I may have.
May have eaten them. Awesome.
You.
How many is a few?
Oh,
Like
there are like
5
25 of them in there.
How many is there now?
So next week, the Rico theme is water park.
What?
Water park.
What if we do Watergate instead?
I just didn't want them to go back.
Right? That could be funny. Well, now I know I need to get more. All right, so every week you're gonna bring me homework, unfinished lab, and a test, right?
We're gonna
We don't bring you the test.
Online. You do the test online. It gets turned in. Okay.
Should we turn in labs as we just did?
If it's done and complete,
Everything.
I would always suggest turning it in before you leave, because that way you don't forget it. If it's not done, take it home and work on it. Everything in your tests should be right here in your notes. There shouldn't be anything like weird or questionable. Henry, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
You really like that line, don't you?
He really does like that
We're
line.
gonna break it.
You gonna take it home?
There you go.
Don't break the thread.
All right. Who has questions? What are your questions? Do we have questions? No? Yes? Everybody gets into teacher ease, right? Nobody had a problem with that. Everybody knows how to get into the forums, right?
Hope so.
Wix.com.
Wix.com.
Did you get any ladders?
I'm sorry, wait, Lily, I couldn't hear you.
Did you get ladders?
You still, should we take it?
It's not-
Okay. I'll,
Wix.
shh, Henry, stop. Let me send you another welcome. Did you check your junk mail to see if maybe you had any welcome emails in your junk mail or anything?
check my junk mail.
Okay,
I don't ever get anything in my junk.
that's a good point.
Oh my god, it just occurred to me. Thank you for saying junk mail.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know how to send that junk, like certain people junk mail.
All right, if you guys don't have any questions, then what I would do if I were you is I would take the next 6 minutes till class is over and work on your lab.
God.
Absolutely. See what you can get done. All right, Lily, I'm about to send you another welcome.
Give me the answer.
Yeah,
Really?
Yes.
Right now, I'm trying to
Why
figure
was that
out.
plan? He's just like, do this, yeah, give me the.
Do you have your passwords, both of you, or do you need them again? Okay.
What's their password? Tell
You
me.
do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Okay.
Okay.
I
Not my
already did
junk mail,
4.
never mind.
I have 4.
Okay, let me
I know, I don't
see.
have 5.
I need junk mail.
It's just 6.
You're allowed to do your lab right now. I'm just gonna-
6. Did you like? Oh no. You do 4, 5, 6, 7,
Lily, yours was the same as last year. I'll write it for you though.
It's when my computer is.
That's not mine.
Miss Danny.
Yes.
Did you explain how the Spanish thing is working again?
Spanish is working like this. Those of you who are taking, raise your hand if you're doing Spanish 1.
I think I'm doing Spanish when I haven't
Yeah.
done it before.
Okay, if you're doing Spanish 1 at 1:30, you will stay here. Miss Jackie will come down here. You will do Spanish 1 with Miss Jackie. And if you are doing Spanish 2, which is only you,
3.
I'm sorry, 3, only you and Campbell, and you will just go somewhere for half an hour, and then at the halfway point, you and Campbell will join everybody that's already here for half of it. She'll probably give you some independent work or something in that, and then you'll move out of that, because then we're gonna have to go immediately to debate once that
So
starts.
is it Spanish like 30 minutes?
No, you have a full hour. Everybody will leave.
Hey,
You overlap for half an hour. Yes, ma'am?
do you want us to turn the notes in?
Nope, you keep your notes. That is your study guide.
Oh, right. Sorry.
what
is
it that we
I have to stay for the last 10 minutes.
Turn in the whole lab. Yeah, if it's done, if you have everything done, be sure your name's on it, and then turn it in.
What? You're not even sneaky about it. You're just like asking me for
That's
answers.
what she said. She said.
I'm gonna reset your password to make sure it works, okay?
What?
I love the Michael laugh.
Let me find it. Well, it's pretty,
like obvious. Like if you have observations.
See, but if you do it, then I don't have to do it.
No, but the symbols, bro. Like a broken
Yeah, I
test
got
is
you.
first
I
one,
won't turn it
fire is
until
the next one, safety knit is the third one. The fourth one is Pirates of the Caribbean, just straight up, okay? That's Pirates of freaking Caribbean, and no one can convince me otherwise.
Okay. I
But
think it's probably death.
A death.
Or no, that's poisonous or toxic.
Pirates.
Pirates.
There's goggles.
Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, there's hey, what do you?
I'm not gonna lie, I actually don't like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, look.
Why?
Hey,
Well, the
that's
first
because you're a heathen, okay?
The
not my
first two
fault.
are alright, but then it's
Yeah, it's just right there.
yeah, exactly.
I didn't like the rest of them, but like I really do love Johnny Depp.
I don't really.
He's great. He's better than Ringo.
You know, you guys are just sad because
He's in
you're,
every
you're
movie.
not as like dramatic.
I wish I hadn't
skilled
put him
as
in
you.
the Times of
Oh,
Grindelwald.
yeah?
That made
You
it
don't have as
actually.
many
No, it didn't.
It made it worse.
Why? He's a giant.
No, I
He's in
don't
every
agree.
single movie.
I have to agree. He's in way too many movies.
But he
So over.
because he's a good actor.
No.
Yeah, but I'm really over it. Did he really have to be Grindelwald? Did he really have to be Grindelwald?
Yes.
That was
No,
a
he
step
didn't.
too
Johnny
far.
Depp is amazing.
I guess it's Johnny.
Nah.
Johnny Depp. And
Yeah, same. I
I
know,
mean,
right?
Yes.
I love his scars.
Yes.
There really wasn't anything to put there, so yeah.
Okay, hey, what was this?
I have a scar.
What? Scarf. You have a scarf?
This is a scar.
Put a
I
scarf
have
on, we'll
scars.
talk. But like,
I have a
Right,
suit.
okay.
I want
Come on.
Some of you guys know how I got that one.
die.
We all know how you got that one, Cole.
A select
You guys
few-
have 2 minutes to wrap up.
How did you get the one? Wait, did you fall in a urinal?
Hit a curse from Arthur. Is that actually how we got it?
Yes. Yes, it was actually how
I
we
didn't
got
fall,
it.
I slipped. There's a difference.
Hey, Mom.
Chin,
All right,
bleed.
that's your covered again, and I sent you another welcome, and I reset it, so it
It
should
was
be
like right
good.
here to happen, but that's here.
Yeah, if you look, it's in your Bible. It's towards the front where it says resources. It actually has the full list. It should be right before your periodic
Hey,
table.
Danny, when is my mom picking up?
2:30.
I'm picking up at 2:30, Mom.
Had to think about it.
No, you're okay. Don't, no, you're fine. Yeah. Literally everyone's still here. You're not later.
So you like
No, she has a whole hour. She's
You have
good.
you have a whole hour.
All right, I'm gonna end this video because we're good.
All right, love you. Bye.